My name is Skinner Layne. I'm the founder of Exosphere, and I've spent my life as an entrepreneur. I started out thinking I wanted to go into politics and law and different things, and I eventually decided at a certain point in my academic career that I didn't want to go to more school. I wanted to start living and doing something differently. And so I spent 10 years in this entrepreneurial journey, and a couple of years ago I decided to start Exosphere, and we are a learning and problem-solving community, and it's sort of the best way I can describe what we do. What we really do is we help people look at their lives in such a way that they can solve their own problems, so that they can turn that into a life of solving other people's problems and solving the problems that we see out here in the world. And that's really the core of everything we do. Well, I think Exosphere is sort of we've kind of created a new category of organization, because we don't consider ourselves a startup or a company. We operate essentially as a nonprofit organization, but what we want to do is build an institution that is based on asking questions in a better way, helping people ask those questions about themselves, but also asking questions in science and technology, and not caring about finding answers, but just continuing to search for better and better information. And we do this right now by traveling around with, we have a one-day workshop called Exobase. We're here in Berlin right now with that workshop. And then we also have longer-term programs in Latin America, and we're doing our first one here in Europe, in Budapest, that are in both entrepreneurship and science and technology. And those programs, people come to for a few weeks or a couple of months, live in residence at the program, and we do a lot of different activities in all of our programs, such as community building and introspective journey of asking personal questions about your life and how you can improve that along your own personal path. Sure. I mean, there are a lot of people out there doing startup incubators and accelerators, and then there are a lot of people that work only in this sort of personal growth category. And the thing that differentiates us from everybody else is that we believe that life has to be both thinking and action. It can't just be one or the other. And most of I guess what you could call our competitor organizations, they either do the thinking part but with no action, or they only do the action part without really reflecting and contemplating about it. Our long-term strategy is actually exactly what we tell all of our participants in our programs. Survive and then hope that you get lucky. Our strategy is essentially to keep doing what we do, helping people every day, and hopefully that will result in being able to be at the forefront of scientific breakthroughs, technological innovation, and hopefully social change as well. Well, there's always the one that all entrepreneurs have always faced, which is that they don't have resources, which we talked about a lot today. I think that entrepreneurs today face actually an interesting challenge, which is that they are being flooded with information that is noise. And they don't know what to do with that noise. And they don't know how to figure out what is valuable within all of this flood of information. And I think this is one of the most difficult things. So people who've never really done the entrepreneurship thing, they've only read about it, they have some strange ideas about what it takes to be successful. And I think that this flood of information is in some sense an inoculation against knowledge of what they should be doing. It prevents them from understanding the way things really are. And if you go up to them and say, hey, this is what really matters, they will kind of look at you like you're speaking another language. So I think this bad information overload is a particularly acute problem that entrepreneurs face today. And I think that today's entrepreneurs otherwise are no different than before. They have to deal with limitation of resources, constantly changing environment, hostile competitors, all those sort of fun things. So that's no different now than it ever been. But information overload, I think, is a very new thing. I see governments as another piece of the strategic puzzle that it doesn't do any good to complain about. You just have to accept that they're there and figure out how to navigate around them. And I think entrepreneurs that go through life complaining about regulatory burdens or whatever, rather than just living with it, accepting it for what it is, tend to not solve as many problems for the market as they could. And I know that it's just a purely pragmatic approach. If it's kind of like the serenity prayer, give me the strength to change the things I can, and the peace to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that government is one of those areas where we have to have the wisdom to know that when I can't change anything, I should just accept it and be at peace with it. I think there's a lot of value to traditional education. The problem is that the value is often derived from the byproduct of the experience rather than the product itself. So, if you go to a university for a learning community, like that's a valuable reason to go to a university. Often what's taught in the classrooms, particularly in business, isn't very useful because it's often taught by people who've never done business, only people who've ever studied it. And the study of business and the practice of business, I think, are much more different than the difference between the study of, say, physics and the practice of physics. So I think that in business in particular, I studied economics, and then I found that economics told me almost nothing useful about the world when I started doing business. And I feel like compared to my friends who got MBAs, I learned more in the first 6 months of being in the middle of the fire of being in a business than they did in 2 years of studying business and paying a lot of money for it. So I think it really depends on what a person wants out of their life. If you want to become a manager at a big company, then maybe getting an MBA is a good idea. If you want to create something new and bring that into the world and sell it to the market, then the only way to learn that is by doing it. And we just help people do things, and if they don't want to do them, we can't help them at all. There's nothing we can teach anybody. We're just here to help people along their journey. You can visit us on the website, our website, which is exosphe.re, which just spells Exosphere, and then you put the dot before the RE. And otherwise, we're also on Twitter and Facebook. You can look us up there. And we'd be happy to hear from you any way that you find to contact us. Any of those ways will work. And we really are here to serve people. So if you think that the kind of things we talk about are interesting to you, or that we might be able to help you in your journey, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to chat with you.